So yeah, the theme of this talk is awakening through imagination. I thank you very much for making this potentially your last thing you go to at the festival. So thank you very much and thank you for, really thank you for being here. This is, as a speaker, I just gain a lot from just having a context to articulate some of these things. So it's just allowing me to think further and deeper and hopefully be clearer on the theme. So awakening through imagination, I have divided this talk in 3 little parts, and so just so you know where we're going. So I want to talk about imagination as a faculty we have, as the first section. The second section is imagination as what we are. And thirdly, imagination as a path to awakening. So, firstly, I guess I want to say what I do not mean by imagination. I think I'll be using imagination in quite a particular way. But yeah, I don't mean by imagination this exercise of fantasy or fancy, which is this putting together of images in perhaps a creative kind of way. The definition I came up with, which is not fully mine, I think I just borrowed from someone else's or other people's definition. But I put it here as a faculty that allows us to connect with what is not immediately apparent. The faculty that allows us to connect with what is not immediately apparent. And I put in brackets, but is true or real. So firstly, as a faculty we have, some of the examples I was thinking of, we speak in terms of, for instance, our mind's eye. And you can, if you can close your body eyes or relax them a bit and bring to your awareness people, perhaps, friends, family members. In my case, I bring, for instance, my sister who's currently fighting cancer. That's popped into my mind. Could bring to your mind's eye a place, maybe where you're going after here. Experiences that you've had during the festival, moments. Or your capacity to have different experiences. Or memories, recollecting stuff. So it's in this sense that imagination is this faculty to allow us to connect to what is not immediately apparent. And this immediately apparent, what I mean is what is not immediately part of your senses. So, but it's real and it's true. My sister does exist. I cannot see her, but she's real. And through my imagination, there is a real connection of her presence, and our relationship, I suppose. So yeah, that's one way as a faculty that we have through our mind's eye. Also thinking of imagination as, language as imagination. Just another, I don't know if it's a faculty, a skill, a method. But all language, what it is a metaphor, isn't it? We use language to point to something that might not be immediately apparent. Well, even the sky. I could mention the sky. And the sky, is a concept. It's pointing at to something that is out there, that we know that is beyond this tent, but we don't have immediate sight of it. So yeah, imagine the language is also quite, by its nature, if you want, imaginative. And maybe I'll go back to this thing of imagination as faculty as we go on. But just to move on to the next little section of imagination as what we are. Because I think this is potentially a bit harder to get our heads around, I suppose, or to accept, or to reflect on, I suppose. I do not expect you to accept what I say in the terms I say. I invite you to explore that. But yeah, for that, I made this talk a kind of an introductory talk. So you may not know anything about Buddhism, and I want you to leave with a sense of what Buddhism is about and what the Buddha said, and also what is awakening. So yeah, I shall remember to do that. And for that, some of the verses I've been studying with a few people earlier in the festival are from this book of it's called the Dhammapada. This particular translation is by my teacher Sanghadhara, and is published by Windhurst Publications, which they have a small stand out there. So now Dhamma means same as Dharma. So just drop the R. One is Pali, one is Sanskrit, or it doesn't matter. And often has 3 meanings. One meaning is truth. Another meaning is the path of truth, as articulated by the Buddha. And the other is phenomena or things. And you can hopefully see how these 3 translations can be connected. There is phenomena, and that is truth. Also is the path by practicing the truth, you align yourself to truth. So it's the path to awakening in that sense. It's by, aligning your mind, your actions, your thoughts to the truth, that you come to truth itself. That in a way there is no, almost the path itself is the goal. Yeah, and I'll say that now. Buddha means awakened, the awakened one. So as a Buddhist, what I aspire to is to awake and see things as they are, and as a consequence of that, to free myself from suffering, from the suffering that is brought about by being in discord, in disharmony with how things are. So I just wanted to read you a couple of verses. Well, now I'm a bit worried of opening the Dhammapada, because I could just talk about just this for a few hours and lose track of imagination. But hopefully I won't divert myself too far. So yeah, the first 2 verses are: experiences are preceded by mind, led by mind, and produced by mind. If one speaks or acts with an impure mind, suffering follows, even as the cart wheel follows the hoof of the ox drawing the cart. Experiences are preceded by mind, led by mind, and produced by mind. If one speaks or acts with a pure mind, happiness follows, like a shadow that never departs. That's right. Well, I wanted to read these verses. One reason was to bring what the Buddha said into the tent, into the talk. But I wanted to bring it to because what the Buddha is pointing to are these verses. Well, there's quite a lot of things, but the thing I want to bring our attention to is the primacy of our minds. We sometimes approach the world and in a way that we think it to be exactly as it's presented to us. So we think that through our senses we are just almost kind of passive receivers of how the world is like. So we take it as face value, I suppose. And what he's saying is that with our minds we are actually we are coloring the world, as we perceive it. I have these little quotes from Ian McGilchrist, a philosopher I quite like, which says, what we attend to and how we attend to it changes it and it changes us. What we attend to and how we attend to it, it changes it and it changes us. So yeah, there is... Yeah, so how we wake up in the morning, if we're tired and hungry, we are likely to experience the world as a bit more hostile and just hard to navigate. And you might have experienced that in the festival. You've had a cold, wet night. Morning is just hard. You've had good food, a good workshop. You come out and people just look lovely. Yeah. And sometimes we fail to see that in a way we are. Yeah, the perception is not a passive, given act in a way. It's almost an imaginative act. That what we are is becoming, is a becoming of or from things that have happened to us, things that we've put ourselves into. From a physical way, I suppose we are what we've eaten, I've had a lot of food and little exercise over lockdown, which made me grow physically as a human being. So I am all those snacks of crackers and hummus and all these kind of physical elements. There's some aspects of, there's behavioral genetics. There's some of my mannerisms that I've inherited from my ancestors. There's cultural conditioning. There's some sets of values that I've culturally inherited. As a Mexican and from an ex-Catholic country, also that was quite clear in entering a Buddhist context. There were some reactions or understandings that were definitely coloured by my upbringing. And there's also deep habits of consciousness. These deep formations of mind, deep habits of being being attracted to certain thoughts or believing some thoughts or believing to be a set of thoughts. Yeah. So what the Buddha is also pointing to, well, one of the things I like of taking, I think there's of value of seeing ourselves as imagination. What I guess I'm trying to evoke, or I'm trying to be in connection with at this point, is that I am not a fixed self. I am not I'm not only, I suppose, how I appear to be. I don't take myself as face value and just to be that, I suppose. To not reduce myself to a particular way of being. But it's more this, something a lot more fluid, less static. Yeah, and I'm having trouble to articulate this, but there's something of engaging with myself, of me as imagination, as being something that is that are mostly things that are not immediately apparent to myself. I'm not immediate. My culture, my elements, my deep habits of consciousness. I'm not. They are not immediately apparent to me. I'm not immediately aware of them, but I am that. Yeah. And we need to kind of understand as much as we can, in as much subtle nuances, all those things, our elements, our conditionings, our deep habits of consciousness, because it's through and by understanding how are we coloring our experience, how are we bringing to the world, how are we attending to, and what do we choose to attend to, is that we can make corrective adjustments towards awakening. I guess what I mean by this, I feel like a lot of my experience of Buddhism for the last almost 2 decades has helped me to articulate aspects of what it seems to be real in the universe. Helps me to articulate aspects of how I appear to work and what my experience is. Helped me to therefore to notice how is that I am coloring and distorting the world. So in these verses that I read, the second part, the first part of these verses were experiences are preceded by mind, led by mind, and produced by mind. And for that, I just bring in that kind of how the primacy of our faculty, our mind, our imagination, how's that coming into being, how primal they are in a way, how essential, core they are. But the second part, when it says, if you act with an impure mind, suffering follows. If you act with a pure mind, happiness follows. So what is purities and what are impurities? Impurities traditionally are greed, hatred, and delusion. Greed, this pulling the desire of what we want, something that is out there that we want to be part of, or something like that. Hatred is something that is near us that we do not want. We want to even destroy, annihilate. And ignorance is this, perhaps just ignoring how things are. Perhaps ignoring our own conditions, ignoring our own states in the morning, not wanting to go there, or just are actively distorting, really expecting the unexpectable, really expecting satisfaction for something that cannot ultimately satisfy us, to expect reliability for something that just cannot give us that security. That is things, situations, people, experiences. So greed, hatred and delusion are those impurities. And one of the things I was saying in my study group, this is probably a bit of a diversion, but the Buddha in a way is not making a moral judgment on these purities and impurities. And I was just pointing out to the fact that, if you look for security in something that cannot give you security, suffering follows, disappointment follows. So in a way, it's just describing what appears to be the case. But a pure mind is something that is aligned to, in one side, if you had greed, hatred, and delusion, and the other you have metta or love, wisdom, awareness. So by saying this, because it's by understanding what is the place and location for our greed, hatred, and delusion to come in more, through meditation, through interpersonal interaction with people that share our ideals and values, is that we understand what are we made of, how are we distorting or coloring reality, and therefore we can apply a corrective filter. This advert just popped up in my mind for this. I don't know if you've seen this toothpaste that is blue, right, and makes your teeth white. And that happens because your teeth are, if you have something that is yellow and apply blue, it goes into white. So it's actually actively coloring blue to make your yellow teeth white. So it's a bit like that. So once you kind of, in a way, in the Dharma, is this kind of language and understanding of how colors work. And therefore, by noticing your conditioning and you apply the right corrective filter, then you're more likely to get the results you want. So, if you want happiness, which you may not. I think that's and that's truly, that's something that might be something you're concerned of. I say that, might sound like a joke, but I think there's an aspect that we need to understand is like how much we find. Sometimes we may find comforting or identity in our suffering, in our reaction, and in this kind of coloring and filtering. We even think sometimes that by suffering, that is how we live, or this is how we experience value or something. And I say that because from the country of soap operas, it's just like where the drama is. It just seems that by feeling intensely and pushing people down the stairs is that you express your passions, and that is life, that is love, that's connection. So we should bear that in mind, that sometimes there's aspects of like we identify with things that actually, they do produce suffering. Neither the person that's pushing someone down the stairs or the one that's being pushed, they're experiencing happiness. But there's something about, why we're drawn to those stories. There's something about how we expect our experience to be and reality to be. That is what we get. I'm completely, there's a diversion from this, but just as a corrective comment on that, because someone on our study group said they felt kind of quite unattractive. It was something very unattractive of the equanimity of the Buddha. It just seemed very, and this mellowness or equanimity, just something very grey almost. It's just no colourful. He said, like, there's something, I don't want to just limit myself to just that contentment, and wouldn't that be avoiding all the, he said, all this a spectrum of colours of sensations or experience. And one of my experiences, it's more like sometimes these habits, these way of beings are like walls that imprison us into a particular way of being, which they are quite close to, they're quite solid, and even though they're quite clear and solid and limiting, are also quite familiar and comforting. But you know the kind of Stockholm syndrome, I think that's what it's called, isn't it? That when you become, you kind of fall in love with your imprisoner or something. Because it's also a source of security. We fail to imagine what's beyond the walls, and that there is a greater, more expansive, and sometimes more subtle shades of color of our experience. And I think that's within awakening in a way. The container is much bigger of awareness and of sensations, but I suppose it's less identified and limited with a particular ways of being. But it doesn't exclude them, actually. It doesn't exclude them, it's not limited by them. Yeah, that's the best way I can say it. Okay, let's move to the last bit, imagination as a path. But first, as a path, using the faculty in the path. So I said, the path as a Buddhist, you want to be awakened. Awaken is really go, beyond that, greed, hatred, and delusion. Go beyond that self-centeredness, this limited way of being, this limited way of interaction. And I had lots of quotes. I just remember for the bits I've been talking about. Anyway. So whether you're a practicing Buddhist or you're new to Buddhism, one of the practices we do is the cultivating of metta. At least in my order and movement, one of the first two meditations we teach, one is cultivating of mindfulness, and the other is cultivating of metta. And in metta, what you're doing is, sometimes it's translated as positive emotions, or is loving kindness, or just love in capital letters, just like biggest love, highest love. And in the meditation, what you do is first cultivate this kind awareness. You move towards your experience and how you are and what you really need and want, Perhaps your relationship with your own ideals, or just, at the moment would be, if you feel that you're a bit cold, that sense of putting your blanket on, that is metta in a way that's responding to I want to be warm. It's moving towards experience and that responsiveness to that experience. That understanding of there is suffering. I don't want to suffer. I want to alleviate myself from suffering. So it's that moving, that kind attention of embracing that aspect of experience and doing something to it in response. And yeah, just so imagination, in a way, this meditation is just quite obviously uses imagination. You're running on imagination. Because as we did at the beginning of the talk, just by bringing other people to mind, there is that connection. And that's what you do in the following stages. You bring to mind, bring to your awareness, bring to your mind, heart, your good friend, someone neutral, someone difficult, all beings in all directions. And you and you bridge. My mind's gone ahead now. The talk, and you bridge that that gap, I suppose, between you and others. They are real. Again, imagination as a faculty of connects you to something that is not immediately apparent. That's immediately what you're doing in that meditation. And yeah, maybe I'll just read this little bit. Because one person who I've had a lot of time for recently is this philosopher and psychiatric neuroscientist, who's on his most recent book has made imagination one of his 4 ways into knowledge or understanding. And Jonah just mentioned the 4, which I think are very good. The first is reason. Second is science. Third is, the order might not be right. The third is intuition. The fourth is imagination. So these 4 ways are ways into knowledge and understanding. And I could talk about this for a while, but I will not. I just want to read this bit, which I think is relevant for metta and in this kind of what you do in that practice. Because he says, in fact, imitation is imagination's most powerful path into whatever is other than ourselves. And here imitation is, I'm understanding it to making a reference to how you go about developing empathy by imitation. Yeah, we could maybe say empathic exercising. But yeah. The enormous strength of the human capacity to imitate is that our brain lets us escape from the confines of our own experience and enter directly into the experience of other being. This is the way in which, through human consciousness, we bridge the gap, sharing what other feels and does, and what it is like to be that person. This becomes about through our ability to transform what we perceive into something we directly experience. Imitation gives rise, paradoxically, as it may seem, to individuality. That is precisely because the process is not mechanical reproduction, but is an imaginative inhabiting of the other, which is always different because of our intersubjective betweenness. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have read the last bit, because that's another talk I'll give later. Yeah. Yeah, so I suppose as a Buddhist and as a potential Buddha, if you want, as a potential fully awakened, you have to constantly engage with something that is yet, you have a potentiality, but it is still beyond ultimately beyond ourselves. So yeah, engaging with imagination and through metta is really a path of all the way from something that is, we start with ourselves, something that it is closer to us, like a good friend, by slowly exercising this faculty of imagination, slowly stepping, loosening up our relationship with these thick walls into embracing or becoming aware that there is more beyond the walls, and there's other experiences, there's other ways of being and being aware of. Is that slowly we can go all the way to awakening. So, yeah, maybe I'll just do the next points. But yeah, I guess I want to bring the fact that also like awakening is something completely different as well than what we are, but there is a continuity and an expansion from what we are. And it might look completely different, and it might require complete transformation, but that there is a true path to that. Thinking of like, a seed and a fully formed tree. There is a complete, that seed just like to break the barriers and grow towards light, and the seed and the tree look completely different. But yeah, somehow it's just being in relationship with those two. Well, it might be more than just two in a way, but anyway. Anyway, so that's in this imagination as a path is how we can use this as a faculty in our practice and in our lives towards awakening. And in practices like metta or whatever, study interpersonal relationships. The second of three that I've noted down today is Shraddha, or sometimes translated as faith. My teacher Sanghadhara talks in terms of what is ultimate in ourselves, connecting with what is ultimate in the universe. So there's these Shraddha responses, these faith responses, in this way of responsiveness to that which is ultimate. Not faith in a blind way. Faith in a way that, very much like imagination, it is connecting us to what is beyond. In here, Einstein said, knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. So, and it's in and with imagination that we can, see reality in different levels, different ways. So notice and take seriously your Shraddha responses. You might have had some during the festival, in an interaction, at a talk, in a ritual, just by engaging with nature, perhaps. And lastly, of this imagination as path, to really take seriously as well this, I put here, bodhisattvas, body awakening sattvas beings. So there is these images of awakening that are very much that, images of awakening. They are just like language. They are pointers to something that it is real and is beyond our immediate, what is immediately apparent. But they take this form. So they are not this form. Tara, it's not that form. But it's something of Tara that's trying to, in its attempt, in compassion, trying to be embodied, takes that image. We have Avalokiteshvara up there, which is this 1,000-armed, 11-headed figure, And this is an image of compassion, this body of awakening, this aspect of awakening, which is compassion. And it has 1,000 arms because it's reaching to help all beings. And the 9 heads is, or 11, or tons of heads, and going in all directions. And in every hand there is an eye, because it's trying to see and witness what is needed. And some of them have tools to respond, to give what is appropriate and most helpful. So it's not like there is literally an 1,000 arm and 11 head. But compassion, it is 11-headed and 1,000 plus hands. Yeah. And in its core, in their core, I don't even know what pronouns to use with reality itself, awakening itself. But it has the wish-fulfilling jewel, the bodhicitta. The jewel, the heart of awakening. So it's from that response and reaches. And let as well awakening to itself to be reimagined in a way that is useful, in a way that is more comprehensible to your own conditioning. In a way, these, because the problem is some of these images, some are from India, some are from Tibet. They come as a corrective lenses, if you want, from onto a particular culture. But allow awakening to take an image for your understanding. Had this very strong sense of awakening as awakening presence once, and I remember doing these visualizations, and I intuitively knew that the whole point of the exercise was for me to be able to see awakening a bit more clearly, therefore to have a bit more direct relationship with it. Again, like images, because they are in this point just as language, is trying to articulate something. Like earlier I used the sky is a word, the sky is kind of, and we all understand sky, though we all might experience it in a different way and might have different, but it is something real, but it cannot be contained by a word. I mean, the sky is just one word, but it's just a lot of skyness, isn't it? There's a lot of way of, and we've definitely experienced it in the last few days. The sky has taken tons of different forms, and our experiences to sky, our skyness has happened in a variety of ways. So so in this exercise, I had a strong sense, if you want, kinesthetic sense of awakening, and on this, as it was led, and I was 16 or 17. Someone told me to imagine a rainbow-colored cloud. Which I was like, can't quite picture it, but I know it was a rainbow. I know it was a cloud, so I can't put them together. It's fine. And then a lotus, although I don't think I've ever seen a lotus, but I've seen drawings, so I just put a flower there. And a moon mat on that lotus, which was, why would you make the moon flat? I don't get it. So that was weird, but okay. And then sat on that moon lotus, there was a 16-year-old man. I was just like, and I lost it. I couldn't imagine. I had a strong sense of awakening, and I couldn't imagine any of my classmates to be the embodiment of awakening. Completely alien to me. So I had this image of like, as in the doctors, you have a sense of what's clear sight, and you kind of, I don't think they happen like this anymore, but you used to put like different lenses and they say, oh, which one helps you to see clearer. In this exercise, I just felt like there's kept dropping filters, and instead of actually me being able to see clearer, it just got more blurry. So I kind of intuitively, if you want, I just took them off, and I said, well, I'm sure it's more important. Right now I have a clear sense of awakening. I think it's more important for me to stay in relationship with this. And if it takes a form, it may take a form. If not, that's fine. And I think I made the invitation of take whatever form may be appropriate. And at that point, for me, it was someone like a Dumbledore or a Gandalf, I don't know how much was in reaction to this 16-year-old, but actually this. And from that point, actually, from that image, I respond and clarified so much of my ideals and values. For me, it's been the embodiment of wisdom, the lightness, and a life of service to a big picture. Those are, particularly Dumbledore, Gandalf, both really. They're really trying to make a difference to the world at large, and in relationship, in communication at different levels. That's how they engage with trying to bring balance, value, awakening to the world. And I might be giving a lot of myself just now, but that's, it helped me articulate aspects that were definitely connected with awakening, but it's also helped me to kind of clarify how I may practice and how I may manifest in the world, or try to. So I'll just finish with a few quotes that I didn't read. So I don't know how to finish, and I'll probably have a lot more to say. And there's these quotes that you might have seen in toilets, or someone might have put on your shoes. That I think are in harmony, I suppose, with what I've been trying to communicate. One is by Graham Greene. Hate is the lack of imagination. Hate as a complete. Go and reflect on this, I suppose, and how hatred comes about into seeing an object, a person, a situation, and take a face value, and responding with aversion, and in our complete inability, at least at that moment, to see that person's needs and values and where they come from, etc. Comes about through the lack of empathy and understanding. You might be able to see that more easily in other people hating other people more than your own. But you can see what do they don't see how the suffering they're causing themselves and others, that they have a lot more in common than not. Sanghadhara, my teacher, imagination is the faculty of self-transcendence. And again, if you want to grow in any direction, you need to have a sense of something other than yourself and your way of being, and seeing how flexible and limiting your current version is, and seeing a path from seed to tree, I suppose. Lastly, not particularly, because it might be the best one to finish off, but by Subhuti, one fellow order member, much senior than me here. Imagination is the vehicle of the Dharma life. If we are to follow the path, we must recognize, develop, and even become imagination. Become that what we imagine. Become that 1,000-armed, 11-headed, or that Dumbledore kind of awakened being. So yeah, I think that's how I hope you can see imagination as a faculty that you have, imagination as what we are, and imagination as the path to awakening. Thank you very much.